Welcome to Together Unprocessed, where 5 friends from across the world share real conversations about food, healing, and life. Let's get started. Good morning, everyone. Good afternoon and evening there, Ashley. This morning today, we're going to talk about supplements. And in particular, we're going to narrow it down to keto and carnivore while you're on keto and carnivore. Because we talked about supplements as a whole, we'd be here for 2 weeks. So before we start, let's just take a quick run around the room so everybody remembers who we are, where we are, and what time it is. So we will start with, how about you, Olivia?
Hi, I'm Olivia and I'm in the UK and it's about midday, quarter past midday over here and a very rainy day, rainy week, rainy month.
Seriously? What's the temperature there?
Temperature's like 10 Celsius, what's that in Fahrenheit?
Wow.
So it's not warm, it's not cold, it's just rainy.
Just rainy.
That's just how we roll.
Yeah. Most of the year, right?
Well, not when it gets to summer, it's much better, but this period is just gloom. Literally, you have to just forget about the sun for a few months.
Right on. Go ahead, Hugo.
Yeah, 2 hours apart in Estonia. So yeah, it's actually pretty nice now. It's a bit sunny and yeah, enjoying the sun while it lasts, which is not very long. It's like okay, maybe now it's like 6 hours and 30 minutes. Yeah, thereabouts.
Right on. Perfect. Go ahead there, Cindy.
Good morning. I'm in Michigan, right at the line of Ohio and Michigan, and it is 8 degrees Fahrenheit and 13 degrees Celsius right now. And yeah, we had a lot more snow yesterday, so I'm embracing it.
That's amazing. Ash?
Hello, I am Ashley. I am from Tasmania, Australia. It is 20 past 11 in the evening.
Wow.
And I don't know what the temperature is, but it's been we're in summer at the moment, but it's Tasmania has a different summer to the rest of it. It's still hot. It's 20 degrees, but it feels like 40. But today we've had a milder day.
That's crazy. You know, the rest of us, and here we are, like your summer is our winter. I still trip up over that. I really do. It's like it's just crazy. And then when we're talking, we're going back and forth. We have that little window that we can go back and forth and talk. Yeah. It's crazy. And I am Kim, and I'm in Ontario, Canada. We're minus 20 degrees Celsius today, and we've got some light snow. And if you're standing out in the wind, what we call a wind chill, it's closer to minus 32. So it's pretty chilly here still. Not as cold as it was last time, but it's still chilly.
Kim, we forgot to say it's like 7:20 in the morning here for both of us.
Okay, there you go. 7:20 in the morning. Which we're kind of fortunate that way, for sure. I'm still not awake, but I'll wake up as we go. All right, so to start, we're going to talk again about supplements. And the first thing I want to put out is something that I think is important that people kind of misunderstand about supplements is, number one, food is the signal. You can get a lot of stuff from your food, period. It all comes down to what you're eating. And second of all is supplements are the support. Because there are times that even though you're carnivore or keto, you will find that there are times that you may need to supplement to become better health. Because it just depends where you are in the metabolism, how long we've abused our system or our bodies of what we put in it and so forth. So the key thing I want to put out is supplements are the support. They don't create health. So just to, there's only a few ones that, it being keto or carnivore, that we actually use quite consistently. And I'm just going to start it off with salt and electrolytes. And this is something that a lot of carnivores, and I'm going to say a lot, because if when you're in that community, the first thing you'll see is people talk about electrolytes. And usually one of the things that they realize they may need it is they get cramps and a few other things. So let's start there. And let's start with what is an electrolyte. Electrolyte is sodium, potassium, and magnesium. And if you do a deep dive, you can go into Google, you can use chat or whatever, you will find the majority of society is deficient on magnesium. And we always get those signals confused. So when you get into a keto or carnivore diet, the signals become very, very clear. And personally, myself, that's one of the first things I started supplementing with is magnesium. So I'm just going to turn it over to you guys. You can talk about salt and magnesium. And Ashley and I have had many, many, many talks about this. And I'm going to throw it at her because she knows quite a bit about this as well. Go ahead, Ash.
I don't know where you want me to start. It could be all day.
It's also later there too, so I want to get your mind while it's active.
Yeah. I am a big person who does do salt and magnesium and minerals. I don't do all the fancy big element teas and all those different things. I know that they do have a place. I just prefer to go with a good quality salt. Sea salt, either like your Maldon or your, I know you guys don't like it, but I do like Himalayan salt. And I normally do 1/4 of a teaspoon for every liter of water because it's got everything in. So that's very important. We forget how important minerals are. We tend to, when people talk about salt, let's just clarify there's salt, they talk a lot about the sodium salt, the white table salt. So we're not talking about that. The salt we're talking about is mineral salt. And it is very important because to get those minerals, and in a lot of the foods, there aren't a lot of minerals because a lot of the animals aren't getting it. And unless you're giving them a mineral block to be able to get those minerals, because a lot of the soils have been raped so much from all these minerals, you don't really get it. We have a huge Himalayan 6-kilo block that's out in a tub for the horse, for the goat, for everybody to be able to look. They know when they need the minerals. And I think as a society, we've forgotten when we need all that. We often mistake when we need salt. People, they want, I need sugar, I need this, but they actually just sometimes need salt. So, yeah, I'm a big salt person. I'd also do a lot of magnesium. We do magnesium as well. Your body is going to, depending on what's going on with stress and everything as well, you're going to go through stages where you'll need less magnesium and when you need more magnesium. My husband, for example, when he's sometimes stressed and he's diabetic, he's got to sometimes where he's taking 8-9 tablets of magnesium because that's where he's needed to get to. With magnesium, you can take it to bowel tolerance, and that's what he normally does. And he'll get to that, and then all of a sudden after that he's back down to the recommended dosage. So it is something that we play around with a lot. But again, we listen to what we need. So I'll hand it over to somebody else. That's my take on making it.
Before you do, Ashley, this is something that you and I have talked quite a bit about, and I've talked to other people as well. And one of the things that people say, oh, we get everything we need from red meat, or we get everything we need from whatever we're eating in the carnivore keto thing. And the question is, well, why do we need to supplement then when we're having like cramps and all that kind of stuff? And you hit on something, and I want to know what others here think about it as well, is that when we are eating, like, for example, we're eating beef, the belief is that we get all the supplements we need from the beef, but that's not necessarily true, because it comes down to is what is that cow eating, and do they have, like for salt and electrolytes and all those minerals, do they have enough when we're eating the beef? Hugo, what do you think of that?
Yeah, it's pretty much on point. If the soil is deficient, then yeah, the cow can likely be deficient too. I think selenium in that case, if a cow has low selenium, it's like it's a specific condition. It's muscle. I think muscle atrophy ensues because of that. So it's actually quite visible when that happens, right? But so that's why there's a long list of electrolytes. They are important, and farmers, I know, sometimes they do give their animals those salts just to replenish, to make sure that they have enough, because it might not be present in the soil for whatever reason. But it's likely due to agriculture interference in that regard, because the soils used to be more complete and much more healthy. Also, for those who don't know, the word electrolyte gets thrown out a lot, but it's basically like any kind of mineral that carries a electrical charge when it's dissolved in bodily fluids, so in your bloodstream or whatever. So just good to know. It's not just a empty term. It has meaning, and electrolytes have a whole class of responsibilities. Hydration, pH regulation, cellular signaling, all of that. So just good to know.
So when you talk electrical charge, like instead of taking 3 days to talk about it, can you sum that up? For electrolytes, you say it's electric. The minerals are electrically charged.
Yeah. So minerals are usually they tend to be metals. I don't know if all of them are metals, but some of them are in between, as I understand. And it's just the behavior of metal. Metal usually doesn't have it has a positive charge. Like iron, calcium, those minerals, they want to grab electrons essentially, and that's why they bind to other compounds to make acids, salts, or whatever. That's why the covalent bond is so strong, because it has the electron pull. And like hydrochloric acid, that is an example. But hydrochloric, the hydrogen, of course, that's not a metal. But if you look at like calcium sulfate, or let me think of more, like there's a bunch of different acids and salts.
Mm-hmm.
And that's why the bond is that strong, because of the electrical charge. A bit sorry that I'm rusty on my chemistry. It's
like, no,
it's been a long time when I looked at that, essentially. But yeah, it's the definition of salt is basically like a metal and an acid combined, right? So yeah.
There you go. I just learned something right there. Love it. Olivia, you were probably, well, not probably, you have been the longest in this keto carnivore, and also, you run your own groups and stuff like that, and you do a lot of stuff for other people. What's your take on salt and electrolytes?
Well, it's interesting. So when I started keto 6 years ago, about coming up to 4 years carnivore, 6 years keto. When I first transitioned to keto, I did not research it properly. I didn't really understand what was going on physiologically, and I went through like severe symptoms of lack of electrolytes, and I didn't even know what it was a lack of. And so I was feeling very very weak and very kind of low in energy, and then I quickly Googled it and realized there was this thing called electrolytes, and I totally missed it. And I remember that day when I put some salt into a glass of water and drank it, and it felt like my whole body just woke up. So then I was like, okay, now I get this. So obviously at that point I was transitioning, so your body's losing a lot of fluid, you're losing a lot of that salt, so you have to replace it. But that's probably one of the last times I remember needing it, like knowing that I need it. Ever since then, I've always taken it because I think I need to or I should take it. And because I did have some really bad cramps at the time as well, and I thought that's obviously why I need to keep taking it. And a friend of mine who's very, people will know Richard Smith, he's designed his own suite of electrolytes. And he makes some fantastic flavors. And that was one of the ways that we got the kids to actually stop having crappy drinks, was to get the flavored electrolytes from him. And so we had those in the house. And so I got into a period of just having a glass of electrolytes every day, and it tasted amazing, and it was like my little treat. And so I kept on with it because I thought I needed it. And then and then I realized how much we were spending on it, and thought, okay, let's just try not having them anymore, because I'm actually more like addicted to the flavor of it than I necessarily know that I need it. And so we stopped having it a good 2 years ago now, as a regular thing. And since then, I have never had any cramps and never had any need for, the electrolyte supplement as such. But obviously, I'm having salt every day. I have Maldon Salt, and the Maldon Salt I have a lot. So when I've told people before, when I eat a steak, I literally cut a bit of steak and I salt that little bit before I put it in my mouth. I don't just salt the steak and eat it. Like I just want to have that much more salt, I guess. So I don't know if that's why I've never needed actual supplement electrolytes and can just survive on salt or not, because it's a good mineral salt, obviously, Maldon Salt. So that's where I am. So I'm now in a place where I don't think, if you've been on carnivore for a while, that you need them, or I certainly haven't seen any symptoms to suggest that I do. I have 0 cramps for 2-3 years now. Probably, yeah, about that long. So I'm just in a, I'm going to carry on like this until I actually have a reason to actually take them now.
Yeah.
Sorry, can I just say, people think they need to supplement with all those fancy things because it's just a product that's been put out there. Salt, your mineral salt is your electrolytes, so that you are getting your electrolytes that you need. That's what I'm saying. It doesn't need to be expensive. It can be really cheap. So you are getting enough your electrolytes through your salt. And that's what we also do at the clinic. The clinic that where I work, is just, you don't need to get the fancy stuff. It's just increasing the salt, and because that's also important for production in stomach acid as well, because that's how you produce it with your mineral salt.
Yeah.
I thought.
Yeah, I agree with that too. I mean, I still do. I take electrolytes, not so much. I more take the magnesium than electrolytes, but I certainly get my salt every day. And I buy Maldon's is one of my favorites. I just love how it's all crystallized, and you put it on there, and you you actually get a crunch of that salt. I mean, it's so satisfying. You get that hit, and it's not overpowering like some of the crappy salts that are out there with like iodine in it, table salt. They got all this other crap in it. That's not salt. That's what I learned. That is not salt. That is just an ultra-processed garbage you're putting into my opinion, that you're putting into your system. And I'm using more and more magnesium, and we'll talk a little bit about that in a second. How about you, Cindy? Oh, by the way, Olivia, was that Richard Smith? Is that who you're referring to? Yeah.
Yeah. His electrolytes. I know him well, and the way he explains how he designed them. Apparently there's no other electrolyte like it, and Dr. Abbs, I don't know if you know him, has gone through a whole review of all the electrolytes and has said that Richard's is the best. So if anyone in the UK wants a good one, and wants to spend money on one, which I don't think you need to, but if you do want to spend money on, then that's the one I would recommend.
Right on. Thank you. Go ahead, Cindy. What about you?
Yeah, I've been taking Celtic Sea Salt in the morning for, I don't know, like 6 years or something. And that was when I first learned that not only this whole thing about table salt, I think people really we need to hit this home because it also is bleached. They bleach this stuff. They put aluminum in it. I mean, come on, we're trying to get away from this kind of stuff. And so that's one of the big things that I had heard about. And this was way back then. So I started, and it's hard to get your head around that. Salt is so demonized, and they're not talking about what we're talking about is salt. So I think that's the biggest thing. It's almost like you can't compare it. I mean, the natural salts like the sea salt, Celtic sea salt, whatever, has like something like over 80 trace minerals, and it's like 83 or 84 trace minerals in there. And so, trace minerals are important. And if you get depleted of these things, who knows what's going on biochemically, and when you start to understand biochemistry and you realize, I can remember when I was in that class so many years ago thinking, oh my God, like we had to memorize these reactions, you know, and so you start to get an idea of how one tiny little compound, one little molecule can disrupt an entire cycle in biochemistry. So if you don't have these things that you need, I mean, you have no idea what can all be connected to that. So I think that's super important that, you know, medicine now is limiting, you know, people have this idea still that, oh, I can't have that salt. I can't have salt. I can't have salt. And what they're saying is just wrong. It's just misinformation. So I've been doing the Celtic Sea Salt for years. I did notice, I thought this was interesting, and maybe it's because I was not like a meat person anyway, you know, when I started doing this, eating this way, is I really needed more salts for, you know, just for the palatable issue of everything. But, you know, it's still that way. I just love salt. And so, you know, I know there are some people, and I've even heard in the carnivore community, a lot of people kind of limiting salt, just like they don't need it anymore. But I love it. I use the Maldon Salt, Kim, like you use. I use the Celtic, the big crunchy stuff. Like I can just eat it. And I will say, when I first started doing this, it was so hard that first month. I mean, even still, if I'm really trying to like eat just beef, for example, for a few days, or I'm fasting or whatever, I will take my little dish of Maldon and just grab it and just to kind of like, if I'm craving something, I will just take salt instead. And it's satisfying to me. And so I know it's doing something important, you know. In regards to other minerals, magnesium and I have been friends for a very long time. Like I really truly believe that magnesium saved me on so many levels. And I have a little story, if it's okay to go into this. I don't know.
Go for it.
I've always had bowel issues, and constipation was a big thing. It really was it's a form of IBS, right? So I know I was dealing with a lot of IBS issues for my whole life. And probably about, I don't know, close to 30 years ago, maybe not quite that, over 25, maybe 27 years ago, I got introduced to a form of magnesium that is a powder, and you put it in water and you make a drink. And I started taking that before bed, and it really, really started to help. I know, Ash, you mentioned like your husband uses it to bowel tolerance, right? That's what this product is. And the name of it is Calm. So I would, you know, take it at night, and I would notice not only sleeping better, but it would start to regulate my whole bowel issue. So it was just like, it was something that I was always taking. Well, my pregnancy journey, which was a lot, I had a lot of infertility. I ended up having IVF, my first baby, and I had placenta previa, which the placenta is over the cervix and you're at risk for bleeding. Very long story short, we should have probably a podcast about that sometime. I'm sure a lot of people would like relate to all of that. I had to move across the country, and I was about 26 weeks pregnant. I ended up having a bleed. They put me in the hospital, then they sent me home after being there a week, and they put me on iron. Well, if you know anything about iron, because I had lost all that blood, it constipates you. I got off of my regime because they put me in the hospital. You can't take any supplements in the hospital, right? So I wasn't taking my magnesium. So then I got constipated, and I was home for 2 days, and I had a hemorrhage, and I ended up being in the hospital for the remainder of the pregnancy, and I was only 26 weeks. I was in the hospital for 3 months. Okay. So I realized that was the problem. I had, you know, that issue, which resulted in that bleed. So when they put me in that next, I was life flighted. That's how serious it wow. was. Yeah. I ended up, you know, telling my doctor as they're doing the admin, I'm like, look, I need my supplement. I had quit taking that. I know that this is the problem. I wasn't taking my magnesium. I had to get a brand new bottle of that magnesium, submit it to the pharmacy at the hospital so that they would allow me to take it every day. So I ended up doubling my magnesium that entire time that I was in the hospital. I wasn't moving. I wasn't allowed to get out of bed for most of that duration. I mean, it was, you know, a challenge. And I feel like it saved my life. I mean, I ended up being in the hospital and keeping him in me as long as they would allow me, which enabled him to not have to go into ICU or into the NICU, right? I mean, it was just really a freaking miracle product. So magnesium, I feel like it saved my life, maybe saved my kid's life, you know? It's super important. So when I first started this, whole carnivore thing, I'm like, I wonder if I'm going to need this, because I was eating a lot of fat, and I was, learning about the more, the fat should keep your bowels moving and everything. But I very quickly realized after a few days that I was going to need to supplement magnesium still. And what I find is maybe it's not as much as I used to, or I mean, just at different times, taking it for so many years, I kind of got used to what my body needed. And there are times when I do need more, but I don't take it twice a day. Sometimes I was taking it twice a day. Like I was when I was in the hospital, I was taking double doses twice a day to keep myself okay. But now I'm always using magnesium. I will not go without it. I do sometimes forget my salt, but I give myself some grace on that, because I am salting so much in my meat that I just don't feel like I need to take that whole teaspoon in the morning. But I would take up to a whole teaspoon of that Celtic Sea Salt in my water in the morning. And I think people just need to really understand that, what that means. And it's not the salt that we've been conditioned to think is bad.
Exactly. So. And, now that we ventured over to magnesium, this is very important too. So I used to take Calm as well. And it kind of tasted like Neocitrin to me. And I'd take it with hot water, and I'd be sipping it, and I just got away from it because it was like, yuck. Anyways, this is something that I learned about magnesium too, is which magnesium you use is important as compared to citrate, to glycinate, etc., etc. So just quickly to me touch on that. One of the things I learned, I was taking a magnesium supplement that had all 7 strains in it, and from all what I've learned and going down that rabbit hole, that glycinate is probably one of the best ones you can take. So if anybody wants to chime in on that and help break that down, let's go. Let's do it.
Yeah, that's a good point, Kim. I'll interject too. Like, I was taking the Calm every night. I was also taking a capsule supplement earlier in the day that has the other magnesium. So you're right, but I'm not well versed in that. Maybe Hugo wants to jump in.
Well, I did do a deep dive on that. Years ago. It's you have magnesium malate, threonate, glycinate, citrate, bisglycinate. I think
there's 7 total.
There's more.
Yeah, well,
there's too many.
Supplement. Yeah.
But I'm just wondering, probably the ones that are naturally occurring, that you would get in the food would be the most effective, I think. Because I don't think synthetic ones, that's all automatically on a different playing field, right? So it might be good, but, it has to be proven through experimentation. But the most safe ones are, those that I listed, probably. Because you can find those in different foods, right? I think, animal foods basically have all those anyway. But I think that's the good part with the supplements. So you can take the whole complex of it, and apparently it does have different effects in the body, depending on the form it is in. I did read some studies on that, and yeah, it looks that way. But it's like experimentation on animal models and all of that. So, which isn't necessarily bad, because we all need magnesium, but it does change the picture. So we don't it's not exactly known how it behaves in the human body outside of the cell experiments they've done. But I think it's good to keep in mind what form you're taking, because some of them have different effects, like magnesium citrate, right? I think too much can be I don't know if it can contribute to a laxative effect, but they have their own effects. So I think taking a blend is probably the safest bet if you want to supplement magnesium, or just get in like a salt. There's Baja Gold is one of the salts that it's an outlier. It's, I think, about 86% sodium and chloride, but it has a lot of potassium and magnesium. for a salt. So that's what I would recommend. I use that as an electrolyte supplement when I need it. Sometimes I've had moments where I had a leg cramp coming in, and it's probably dehydration and all of that. And Baja Gold has been really helpful. But yeah, there's dedicated electrolytes too, like Norcode and others. So yeah, it's just good to keep that in mind when you're having symptoms. There's a quick fix to it. But I find, by far the best source of electrolytes is actually beef, lamb, or just meat. Because when I eat a big meal, that just clears up all issues. And of course I salt that too, but it's just just a kilogram of meat, that has a lot of electrolytes in itself. Like, even if I didn't use salt.
So here's the argument. You're eating your beef, your lamb, or whatever. Like, where are you getting your beef and lamb compared to where I'm getting mine, or where Ash is getting her in Australia? Like, are we getting the electrolytes from that beef? I mean,
that's hard to tell. Yeah, but
exactly.
I think there's proxy markers. Like, there's like proxy signs you can use, like how satiating it is, like how replenished are you, because I mean, if it's quite deficient, I think the body, at least in my experience, it does give you that signal. If it's not, if it doesn't have those minerals, it will detect that chemically. We have mechanisms for that, and it won't taste the same, or it won't satiate you the same. So I mean, I don't even need to salt. I have such great Angus beef here, so it's like it
Show
tastes
off.
amazing on its own, right? And sometimes I do forget the salt, and I'm actually not. It still tastes great, Like, I could eat it without the salt, but I like it with the salt more.
And I double down on this. I think it's the quality of what you're eating, and not everybody gets, like, if people that are on the carnivore diet, which it can be expensive. Sure the hell is here in Canada, I'll tell you that right now. And so they'll go to the store and they'll get a lower quality meat, and I argue, are they getting the supplementation in the beef that they're eating, or are they not? And sometimes there's a pretty good argument in that as well, because they're not grass finished. They're fed like grains and corn and soy and so many other things that we don't even have a clue what they're being fed. And I don't feel like you're going to get all that from a lower quality beef. I just don't think you are.
And that's a good point. It is invariably the case. Yeah.
What's that? Sorry, Hugo.
It's invariably the case. Like, when I've like all the grass-fed meat I've tried is actually replenishing, or if it's wild game.
Yeah.
Yeah. All of them are excellent.
Yeah, and then you get into wild game. Are you getting enough fat? And it's like, so then you have to supplement with fat as well too, where we come into tallow and all that kind of stuff. So this is one of the things that when I talk to some of my friends and other people in general, like I talk to people and when I'm social, and they take so many supplements, and the question is why, and how do you know which one is working when you're taking so many, and it's like, yes, well, I eat fish. Well, what kind of fish are you eating? Are you eating farmed, or are you eating wild caught? And there's just so many more questions that this one of the things too, talking about this today is hopefully people will start questioning and saying, what kind of magnesium am I taking? Right now, I mean, I wasn't taking my magnesium, and talking to Ashley, and then with the heart issue that I'm having, magnesium is helping me. And not just any magnesium glycinate is helping me. So there's just so much more to it that we could really go down the rabbit hole on that, and we should do another one as well. So magnesium, what is it really good for? Well, Ashley talked about it, and this is something that I learned too, and I actually learned it from Ash, is it will lower your blood pressure. People don't realize that. And also for like heart rhythm, muscle relaxation is what we just finished talking about. And sleep quality actually can improve too. People find that when they take their magnesium at night, they have a pretty good night's sleep. Most people. So anyone else before we move on, want to add in?
And you don't have to take, for people who don't want to take magnesium, you can also do things like an warm Epsom salt bath, because then you're still getting that magnesium into your body, but not actually supplementing through tablets. You know, you can also
through the skin.
You can also get spray-on ones, which you get a spray-on magnesium oil, which you can then spray onto where you're getting a cramp. I take this one, which is a Sandra Cabot one. It has 2 of the smallest particles of magnesium, so it actually goes directly into your muscles and into your bloodstream and all of that as well. So, it's going to where you need it. With Bradley, they wanted to put him on, with being diabetic, they just hear the word diabetic and they're wanting to put you on a cocktail of drugs. So they were like, oh, your blood pressure will go up and, it's a bit high. So they wanted to straight away put him on blood pressure tablets, and I refused, and we just upped his magnesium dose. And his blood pressure came down. So, this is not a health disclaimer or anything that you can do. Each person is different, and it might not work for you. And it's worked for Bradley,
yep.
And it might not work for somebody else.
Yeah. All right. N equals 1. Yeah. It's so important.
It's what works for us. We don't like to take it. So he does take magnesium every day. So do all of we all do. We've got certain regime that we take minerals. So we're taking our salt, which we have a quarter of a teaspoon of salt for every liter of water that we drink. It doesn't have to be in the water, but it can also just be that over the food. So over the course of the day, we're probably having, it's probably have half a teaspoon.
Oh,
and we have. But each person's going to be different.
Yeah, exactly. And this was I learned this. I believe I learned this from, I think it was Asprey or Ben Greenfield or one of them. And like, I have really bad sinuses. I've had bad sinuses my whole life. And one of the things that he talked about was getting the adrenal gland going in the morning. And it's really good for metabolism and stuff like that. And he says, take a glass of water, cold water, put a teaspoon of salt in it. And if you add just a little bit of lemon, it just makes it go better. And drink that as soon as you wake up. And you know what? It worked for me. I went from like being stuffy and, to actually like cleared right up. So I'm coming down to salt, magnesium. I think they're important. I think people should look into them. And we're not here. We're not making any health disclaimer, like Ashley said. We're just here for awareness, and we're just talking about what worked for us and what probably didn't. So with that, let's jump into. Sorry, did you want to add anything, Olivia?
Well, no, I was just going to say, I think because you were saying that you felt better taking it, Kim, for your heart issue, and obviously Bradley had a reason. But I think that's probably the time when you should entertain it. Like, I wouldn't go and get it just because someone said to take it. It really depends on your symptoms and if you actually have a reason to take it. That's how I generally look at supplements. Like, I've got to have some symptoms before I just take them.
Yeah, good point. Very good point. And that's what I said at the beginning. Sorry, Ash, go ahead.
I do take it every day. I do it as a precaution, as a thing, because I did stop everything when I started carnivore, because everybody said, oh, you didn't need all these things. But I found that things started happening. So I just take it as a precautionary thing. And there are days when I need less and there are days that I need more. I don't supplement like I used to supplement, but there are things that I supplement every day. That being magnesium, boron, and iodine. Those are my 3 things that I do, and we adjust from there. But those 3 things I will not live without.
And now that you brought that up, let's talk about iodine. So this is like thyroid and metabolic signaling, and everybody knows here that I had a huge thyroid issue. And I had it for a long time, and it was so frustrating to me because I was doing carnivore, and it's like, what the hell? This fat's not coming off my body. I was getting really frustrated. I was, walking 10 to 15,000 steps a day. I was doing my workouts and all that kind of stuff. And if I dropped a pound, it'd be friggin' amazing. And one of the things that I got introduced to that I knew about, but I never used, was iodine. And whether it helped me or not, it's hard to say. However, we can talk about it. And what do people feel about iodine? And again, I'm going to jump to Ashley because I know she uses it daily, and not just 1 or 2 drops. She uses quite a few drops.
So yeah, I use iodine, but I don't use Lugol's iodine, which is what everybody else uses. Everybody that is Lugol's iodine is potassium and iodine, whereas the one I use is molecular iodine, so it is purely iodine. Yeah, iodine is not just for thyroid. That's where I think everybody gets confused as well. There are other things in your body that need iodine. Your breasts, your prostate. I give it to Bradley for his prostate. It's as a precautionary thing. We have 3% iodine, and this one that we use, molecular iodine. So it goes straight into your cells. It goes basically, first will go to your thyroid, and then it'll go to any of the other body parts that require it. I am a big believer in it. So it's going to help with the ovaries, your prostate lining, your skin, and your immune system. So I put that on my skin. So I just paint 10 drops on my skin every day because I like to monitor how my body uses it. On some days it gets absorbed straight away, and within an hour I don't even have any stain left on my skin. And other days the stain will stay there, and which means it hasn't used as much. My husband and my kids have 5 drops. And they just have it in water and they drink that every day, and it's especially very important for hormones. So especially as they are now in puberty and going through all their teenage things, it's one of the things that I insist that they take. So it is very, very important. So it's important for the thyroid, but also for the rest of the body as well. I know other people disagree, but it's what we do.
And do you take selenium at all with that, Ashley, or just iodine?
Just iodine, just molecular iodine. It is about, because it's already in the iodine form, it doesn't need to be, it's in the state that the body already needs it, so it's going to go to all the places. It doesn't need to be changed into anything. Whereas with Lugol's, it tends to, straight to, so that's why. And also goes when it needs to go to the other parts of the body, it first has to be then broken down, well, not broken, but changed into the format that is absorbable by those cells. So that's what we do, and that's why I don't do Lugol's, because that is a more potassium sort of base. It's got more elements in Lugol's than the molecular iodine. And there is a guy, if you guys all talk about it, I can't remember his name now. He actually talks about, he's done not paper, but he's done a lot of research on it, and he actually says we do need more iodine. I know Elizabeth Bright talks about him as well, too, about the need for iodine.
Yeah, that's the brand I take too. I actually ordered it out of Australia. That's the iodine I use as well.
Yeah.
And
So molecular iodine supports physiology, whereas Lugol's it drives the change that's needed in the body. So they do different things.
Yeah, very interesting. And I know, so I'm going to jump over to Olivia here. We've had this conversation many, many, many times in Discord, and it's come up a lot. And, some people are like, yes, for sure, constantly. And other people are like, you don't really need iodine. What is your take on this, Olivia?
So I used to take iodine based on various, again, different people's advice, and I stopped, and I don't, again, have any symptoms as a result of stopping. I didn't see any difference when I did take them. I mean, that's not to say that there isn't some benefit. Like at the moment, we're reading a book all about toxins, and one of the ways that they suggest that you avoid absorbing some toxins is by taking iodine as a precaution, so that your thyroid is not absorbing any of the toxins that could be in your system. So I'm kind of 50-50 now. I could be convinced to take it as a precautionary one, but I don't, and I don't see any symptoms from not taking it. I do think there can be some side effects if you take it and you don't need it as well. So you just need to be aware of those and make sure you're not falling into that category. Like, I don't think any thyroid issue means you should be taking iodine. It depends what kind of thyroid issue you have, and whether you have a need for iodine. I've definitely noticed since, as I've kind of honed my carnivore diet over the years, and we all talk about the line diet being the best diet version of carnivore, if you like, the best diet that you can have. And I certainly felt great when I was on the line diet and I was just eating ruminant meat. But I realised that I feel even better when I have seafood. And so now we have seafood at least once a week, maybe more. And we'll try and focus it on wild caught, so wild caught salmon, Alaskan salmon. My daughter's bringing home a hell of a lot of shellfish and mussels that she gets from where she works. And so we're just having them because we're getting them now. And so like last night we had 2 kilograms of mussels and tasted amazing. And I've noticed that since we've just been having more seafood, I feel better than even when I was on a line diet. So there could well be something about incorporating, not necessarily needing the supplement, but making sure you're getting seafood to give you that iodine that you need.
Yeah. And 1 second there, Cindy. And also too, when it comes to seafood, it's so important on the quality as well and where it comes from as well. And I mean, where you are, I mean, coastal, all that kind of stuff, I'm sure you can get some pretty amazing seafood. Yeah.
No.
No.
We have to. I think the best seafood is we can actually get fresh, wild caught Alaskan salmon.
Okay.
It costs a lot, but
yeah.
it's not just, you can get it frozen for sure, but you can also get it. In fact, Hugo's the one who even told me about it because I never even thought to look when he noticed it when he was here in the UK. So you can actually get fresh salmon. It's like £10 for a little bit like that. Wow. That's more not a regular thing, but you can have it frozen and have it more regularly. But the rest of the shellfish, I need to look into how sustainable and well reared it was. I don't really know about that. I know for fish I would definitely always go with wild caught, but shellfish is a bit more tricky to trace.
Yeah. Thanks, Olivia. Go ahead, Cindy. Sorry.
I just wanted to quickly say I don't take it all the time, but I go in spurts where I do. Fulvic iodine. Dr. Dan Newsom is a well educated on many levels naturopath and doctor, and anyway, he has a line of fulvic iodine, which makes it more bioavailable, and then he has a good explanation here about it, but how it's used in so many parts of the body, but especially thyroid. I don't know if did we mention that already?
No.
So and I think it matters too where you are, and probably also what you're eating, I guess, where your food is coming from. But in this area, I knew that I think it was my great grandmother had goiter, which was a thyroid issue, and actually died from that. So and I had heard of other people in this area where I live having problems with that. So. And then one of the things that he said, it's estimated that 97% of the U.S. population is iodine deficient. That's a lot. In 2012, a study estimated as many as 30 million people in the United States alone suffer from hypothyroidism. So, it just makes you wonder where that connection is. And I agree with you, Kim. It's like, how do we know what we need? Like, this is why I take stuff sporadically. Sometimes I'll take things for a while and then not. And, I don't always know even if how I'm feeling is related to that. So I don't know. Play around with it. That's what I do. But the fulvic acid is good for a lot of reasons, but it helps things be a lot more bioavailable.
Mm-hmm. So. Mm-hmm. Yeah. And, go ahead, Ash.
No, I was going to say, with iodine though as well, it competes, it's on the same receptors as your bromide, fluoride, and chlorine as well. So often your body thinks it's getting iodine, but it's building off the blocks of your bromide, fluoride, and chlorine because it's going into those same receptors. So often we might be iodine deficient because I know, like in Australia, this is not in a lot of the soil. So a lot of Australians are magnesium and iodine deficient, and so it's something to take into account where you might be building your body. You're thinking you're getting enough iodine, but you're not really, because you're getting all those other receptors as well. All those other chemicals in your body, which is on those same receptors. So I think, that's why I believe it's important and why I do. And Guy Abraham is the person I was thinking of earlier on. He's the one that was sort of saying that we should be taking 10 times more than, or 100 times more than the actual, between 50 and 100 times more than what the recommended dosage is.
And now that so now that you just mentioned all the like bromine and stuff like that, is it not? Doesn't fluoride deplete iodine as well? Doesn't it compete?
Yeah, they're all on the same fluoride, bromide, and chlorine. Are still all on the same receptors as iodine, so they're pushing out the iodine as well, depending on how much you're getting in your body.
Yeah. Because I know, like, one of the meds that I was taking for my depression and stuff like that was loaded with fluoride, and I took that for 30-something years. That's a long time. And also, too, here in Canada, we have different places. They've changed it. They're working on it, but all drinking water has fluoride in it. So there's so many different things to take into consideration as well, right? And if they compete for each other, like you said, like fluoride will take away, like, deplete your iodine. Well, that's something maybe to look into or take into consideration as well. So that was and it just, let's just talk selenium. I've never taken it in my life, never. And usually they go hand in hand, do they not? Iodine and selenium. At the thyroid function.
They do.
Yeah. Okay. So we'll jump into quickly on digestive enzymes and ox bile, which support. We have many carnivores that do not have a gallbladder, and one of the things with keto and carnivore is high fat, right? And so for a supplement, I know many people. Wendy, in particular, was when I was put onto this. She talked about it as she's like somebody that's in Discord that I met, and Olivia knows her very well. She takes a supplement for her gallbladder, and some people don't. Some people don't have to, which is quite interesting. So I'll let you speak on that a little bit, Olivia.
I think there's a common misconception that if you don't have a gallbladder, you can't do the carnivore diet, or you can't have too much fat in your diet in general, which we've definitely seen many people, prove that wrong. And it may be the case that when you start, you need to be careful about how you spread your fat intake throughout the day, so that you're able to produce enough bile, and then on demand, and then as you start to increase your fat, your body will start to be used to producing that much, and it may even create like a pseudo gallbladder and have a way of recreating the same effect of what having a gallbladder does. And so, as long as you're managing it that way and you're aware that you can go with too much fat in one go, you can normally balance it, bring the fat back a little bit and get that rhythm right. So it's certainly not a reason not to do it. Whether you need ox bile, I think is very individual. As you say, Wendy, I know uses it, but not all the time. Again, I think it's something you need to figure out by working on your body and seeing whether or not you really do need to have some more bile. You can supplement with ox bile, but it's a very individual thing, I'd say.
Perfect.
Ox bile is something you take with fatty meals if you don't have a gallbladder. So people don't need to take, if they're not having that fatty meal, don't take the ox bile, because it's gonna make you feel nauseous. Because we've had a lot of people come in and say, they've tried the ox bile because they don't have the gallbladder and they've felt nauseous, but they haven't had it on a very fatty meal. So we always tell people to only take it when they're having a very fatty meal, because it's going to help with that whole digestion thing and breaking down the fats, but not to have it if you're going lean. You only need it if you're sort of on the fatty, so you don't need to be taking it every day, but just with that fatty meal that you're having.
Well, people don't know that actually bile acid is it's a detergent. It's meant to be that way. It is a bit caustic, and if you have too much bile, that in of itself can be irritating. So, there is harm in overdoing it too. So, you know, in those cases where you need that fat support, you know, fat digestion, it might be worth it, but it's individual, right?
Yeah.
So I'd just be cautious of, you know, and bile is something that, you know, there's a reason why the body doesn't make enough bile. So it's not always a pathology. Like some cases you don't need that much fat. In other cases you might be missing nutrients to make enough bile. You know, you need lots of different vitamins and minerals. You need choline. You know, you need folate. You need taurine is important too. Like there's just a list of things you need. You don't need to think of that. When you're eating good quality nutrition, like animal-based food, those are the things you don't need to think about because it should already be present in the food, especially if it's grass-fed.
Yeah.
Your body is also going to be. We also do a lot of low. Everybody's come from this low fat where fat was so demonized, and by doing that, what we've done is we've switched off the bile production in our body because we haven't needed it. So often when people then go back to eating the fats, the fattier foods and stuff, they go, oh, I'm feeling nauseous. It's because their body is not used to producing all that bile because they haven't needed that bile as well. So the more you're increasing it as well, it's gonna go from being very sluggish, thick bile to a more runny, because it should be a lot thinner. You know, that's what it's there for. It's there to, once it comes from your stomach, once your stomach acids, which have to be really high, to break down the food. Once it hits the intestines, that's when the bile is released in order to be very alkaline to take, you know, to make it alkaline to be able to get to the rest of the body. It's not, you know, it's there to dilute it, not because it's been through that whole stomach acid thing. It's now the next chamber of let's dilute it. And I think, you know, because we haven't had that fat, we weren't told not to eat it. That's what your body does. Your body doesn't need to create as much anymore, as well.
Yeah, good
so
point.
That's a big thing.
Which is also why people think if they have gallstones that they can't eat fat because they haven't been having any fats, they haven't been producing any bile, and then when they start to produce the bile, it starts to push the stones out. So just to add on to Ash's point there, so it's actually not an issue with the fat, it's an issue with getting their body back into producing enough bile.
Yeah. The bile stones are a solved problem because you know, it's just basic chemistry. Like if you hyper concentrate a solution, you basically cannot dissolve any more salt into that, or you know, the solid you're trying to. Yeah. So like if you try to put salt into water, it's gonna crystallize at some point. Like the water can't absorb any more salt, and you know, that's the same effect with bile acids, right? And bile salts, they will just crystallize if it's too hyper concentrated. So completely debunked.
That's a good point. That's a really good point. And you know, Dr. Chafee talks about this, and a few other people. Some people that have the gallbladder out, they actually start. They have what they call a pseudo gallbladder, which actually helps as well. So it comes down to knowing your body and what you're putting in it and why you're putting in it. I mean, it shouldn't be just something you take every single day just because you're told to take it every single day. I mean, these are questions that we should all be asking ourselves. How do we feel about it? And like, what is it doing to our body? And paying more attention, listening to our body more, which a lot of us do not do. We don't. And we need to. We need to start listening to our body. And if something doesn't feel right, start asking the questions. Why? Why? Don't just go take a pill. Don't just go take a supplement. Start asking those questions. Why do I feel this way? And then you'll find that you'll end up going down a rabbit hole like we did and end up being where we are. Hopefully. So, I mean, that's when we come down to, you know, digestion and fat adaptation and stuff like that. Like I didn't know anything about the gallbladder, seriously. And this is a perfect point, is that most people don't. Like when I started learning what the body does and why it does it and stuff like that, I started changing my way of living as well, and what I was consuming and what I was doing. and how I was doing it. Because I was like, well, that doesn't make sense that my body's doing this and I'm doing that. It was like a total clash, an absolute clash. So that's very important too, is understanding and getting to know your body. Create a relationship with it. Not hard to do. So,
and I think the only time to even consider taking ox bile is if you don't have a gallbladder. Then then only if you really, really need it and you've gone through that process of figuring out your body. That for me is kind of the bottom line. And then you know you have a need for it. And even then you want to try and get off it. You only want to use it as a tool.
Yeah, ox bile is just if you don't have I would only use ox bile if you don't have a gallbladder. And just on that note, you know, we're told by all these doctors that we go to that the gallbladder isn't important. I think Dr. Chafee's the only one that says it is. You know, he's explained about that pseudo sac. Every part of every organ that we've got in our body is important and plays a role. And you know, we're told that it doesn't. But you know, try and keep that gallbladder if you can. Don't just there are ways to get rid of the stones without having it removed. You know, if they can do kidney stones. If they do kidney stones, they can also do gallstones. Yeah, there are different ways.
And he says that too, Ashley. He says, like, you know, last resort, the very last resort, then maybe get it removed. But in the meantime, try and keep that gallbladder. Like,
yeah, but it just seems that it's just it's the first. It's just like you get any pain. It's just like that's the immediate thing that they do, and I just get just think twice before your doctor suggests that. Just research it a bit more. Don't just blindly follow.
Yep. It's like, let's take out your molars. Yeah. Tonsillitis. Let's get rid of your tonsils. I don't know how many people in my age, probably Cindy, do you still have your tonsils? I don't. They're gone.
I do.
If they took it out, like, it was like, okay, you're due. You're at an age. Let's get rid of them. I mean, people my age, a lot of people you talk to our age, like Cindy and I's age, we don't have tonsils. It was just immediately take them out. They're causing an issue, so let's take them out.
I mean, most
meanwhile,
people, I know they don't have tonsils.
Yeah, it's just that's our healthcare system. So healing context will come up to closing it up. We'll talk quickly about like the support. Omega-3, zinc, and vitamin D are the three big ones that we hear about all the time. I'll start omega-3s. I do not take a supplement. Lots of people, they go and they want the krill oil and they want the fish oils and they want this combination. They want that combination. You can resolve all that. Just eat sardines. Period. You're going to get all the omega-3s you need. It's a superfood that people are not even aware of how powerful it is. Actually, there's people like Dr. Dominic D'Agostino. He claims that it is even better than fasting. Like the benefits is off the chart. So omega-3, sardines, that's what I'm saying. Zinc, the only time I take zinc is if I feel a cold or flu coming on. And that's the only time I take zinc. I don't take it any other time. And like when I had my cold a couple days ago, I mean, it lasted like a day and a half. I was taking vitamin C at the time and zinc. And then the last one for myself, vitamin D, I started taking vitamin D again. And again, vitamin D can be very controversial as well. Is what vitamin D are you taking, and is it the right supplement? So that's me. Quickly, I'll Ash, I know you have something to say about that, and I want to hear it. And I'm pretty sure a lot of our followers will want to hear it because I think it's important. I think it applies here. So over to you.
I don't take fish oil, omega-3s. I also just do the fish like you do. I don't do sardines. I do other fish. The sardines are for the cats and the dogs. I take zinc occasionally. I'll probably end up starting to take some because I've got a few cold sores, so my immune system's a bit down. I don't take vitamin D. Or a lot of people don't know that it's not a vitamin, it's actually a hormone, so sequosoidal hormone D. So I don't take it at all. The doctors only test for stored D, not active D. So I've actually started asking my doctor for both tests. You can ask them because too much vitamin D supplementation can become toxic. I prefer to get mine from even in the winter, I'll just go out in the sun a bit. And I also take food-wise, and also have busy getting lamps too. So there are other ways to get it. But yeah, I'm not a big advocate of it. And that's me. So
and you're not the only one that talks. They're not the only one that talks on this. There's a few really big influencers that are talking about vitamin D as well as being hormonal, and one in the blood and one in as a true supplement as well.
Yeah.
There's different forms.
But it's also with it, when you're getting it on your skin, your body knows when it's had enough, and it can turn off the production. When you're supplementing, you're not getting that effect of your body knowing when to turn it off either. As well. And so I just it is also a fat soluble hormone too. So again, I just also think we go back to that whole low fat thing. I think a lot of us are deficient in it as well. When people say deficient in it, because we've been being put on these low fat diets where your body's not, you're not getting all the K's and the A, all these different things that it needed to synthesize and produce the turning over the D's. There's so many forms of vitamin D's that you need in your body. There's not just one form that you're getting from the sun.
Yeah.
But that's my take. I know everybody else has got different opinions, but that's why I don't take it. None of my family members do. Bradley's, my husband's Caddy's done both. He's active and his are really high, and we live in Tasmania, so it's just about getting that getting that exposure. And I know that we can talk about. I know Livia does a lot the circadian rhythm, and Hugo as well. It's that morning sun. It's that that whole getting that whole all that in line and balanced for it to all work.
Yeah, and Sydney, what's your take on that? I want to hear what you have to say about that.
About which part exactly?
Vitamin D. Well, all of it, but vitamin D in particular.
Well, I've had low vitamin D before. I mean, I don't know what I don't often get a lot of outdoor, exposure like I would like, right? I try to get some morning sun and stuff, but to get my skin, I mean, especially the last 2 years, like hardly any. And I've had low numbers. So, I mean, I've heard a lot of that stuff too, Ash. I don't disagree with any of that, but when my numbers are low, I'll take it. And then there's a lot of studies out there too that talk about people who, even areas of the country where they highly recommend taking vitamin D, like you, Olivia. I heard a study it was in UK that the people who were taking it had less illness and all of that, so you could go down like a huge rabbit hole with all of that. But I go in spurts with that too. So especially in the winter, I do take vitamin D. I vary the different kinds that I've taken over the years because, again, just trying this stuff out. I've been somebody who's, since my early 20s, would sit there with all of my capsules, and put stuff in and make sure I have, people would joke, I get a little food with those supplements there, So I've experimented with a lot of different things, but I actually right now am taking vitamin D. I had stopped for a while, but then had some numbers done, and I was low. I do take supplements with. I used to take the oils, but I eat a lot of sardines now, so that changes that too. And I think, I mean, here's the other thing. It's like food as medicine, right? That's what we're supposed to be doing. And we've kind of lost that in our modern society. Food is comfort. Food is fun. Food is, just, so wrong now. So I try to think of that, and say, okay, even if I don't like the taste of something, I will take it. And it reminds me too, Kim, you mentioned when you started learning about what, like the gallbladder, for example, and these other things you didn't know about. And it hit me when you said that. I'm like, oh my gosh, I never thought of this before. But I started taking physiology courses. I was an accountant, and then, switched my focus, and I just so dove into all these physiology. I loved it. I'm like, this is so amazing. Like, to dive into learning about the body And then realizing even in all of that information that I learned, it's just like scratching the surface. There's so much we have no idea that we don't know, right? And it is fascinating. I think that is partially why I changed my focus once I started learning what the body is about. And I kind of forget that most people don't know what a gallbladder is or like what's going on in the physiology. I think so the basic information that if you don't know about the body, it is such an amazing thing to explore. And it's important because, you know, I forget now, and as I remember back what it was like when I was younger and I didn't know what was going on in the body, people aren't paying attention to what's going on in it. They just really aren't. It's like you just are going along out through the day like it's just all happening on its own. Like what an amazing miracle we are all living in, you know? It's fascinating. And my work is about helping people feel into their body more and realizing that you can't fix something. And here's my famous quote that I got from John Barnes, right? Without awareness, you have no choice. So when I started really becoming aware of what was going on in my gut and in my body when I would eat something, it was mind blowing. And it's taken years of working on that. Like even when I was pregnant with my daughter and I was on the borderline of being diabetic, that's when I started doing my blood sugar often. And I wasn't at a level where I needed to do anything about it, but I was like, man, I want to know what this is about. You know, I want to learn. And so that's when I started putting it two and two together where I would be like, oh, I don't feel so well. I wonder what my blood sugar is. And sure enough, it was, you know, over 120. It was like 128. And I could tell when my blood sugar was going above like 120 and it became like, you know, like clockwork. And so I was able to pay attention to it. And even now, you know, I really can tell. And I still struggle with this insulin, I think insulin resistance thing. Well, it's because I go to bed too late and I don't sleep enough. We should have a whole topic about sleep. But, you know, how is that affecting
all the episodes we're going to have?
I know, sorry. But it's so important, right? And it starts to, you start seeing that parallel. Like you can't just work on one thing and not do another thing. Like exactly. I do a lot of really good things, but I really suck on the sleep end of it, to be honest. And I you know, even though I manage my stress, right? But I'm still not going to bed early enough, right? Even if I got enough hours of sleep, what time are you going to bed? And all of those things are so important. And it makes a difference in that physiology. And when, you know, you're walking around in this body and you have no idea what's going on in there, like there's just so much. There's so much.
And you know, it's really interesting you say that. Like, I'm just going to point out here quickly. Like when I message Cindy and we're talking back and forth and stuff like that, you know, I'll get an answer from her like 2:00 in the morning, 2 a.m. And I'm sleeping. I'm having a great sleep. And then she texts me at 2 a.m. So I answer her at 6. She answers me at 6:05. It's like, what the hell? Did you even sleep? Yet on your Aura ring, your numbers are incredible, absolutely incredible. So you're doing something right.
Yeah, and I do. Yeah. I think it's all those things, right? It's like thank goodness I do all that stuff. You're right. Yeah. I can sleep 4 hours, and I can have the same deep sleep number as I had in 6.5 hours. A lot of times, I mean, not always. Crazy. But it's just there's so much to do in life, and there's so much to learn, and I just try to squeeze it all in. I don't have time for all that sleep, but I do need to work on that.
And you're true, and I think that's so admirable, and you know, I take a cue from that too. It's you know, we get one life, you know, and what we do with it is so important, and it's kind of sad how people have lost that and just become complacent and just they end up in a darkness away from awareness that when they finally wake up, there's such a joy, and a lot of people are not. And that's what I'm hoping our podcast brings to the masses, is that, you know, you have a beautiful life to live. Let's share what we've done and where we're at, and hopefully it'll help you too. So Olivia, quickly, you have anything to add on that before I close it out?
A couple of quick things. One thing that comes up a lot with carnivore diet is folate and folate deficiency. So that's just one for people to be aware of. I did find that I had a folate deficiency when I first did my bloods, and so I started taking folate supplements, but then I moved off that onto having regular liver. Liver is amazing, and you don't necessarily all have to agree, but it's the best thing. So have it every now and again, and if you like it, then have it more often if you want. But that's definitely sorted out the folate issue. The other thing is that, a very common thing that I've seen is that people say, I tried the carnivore diet, but I had too much hair loss, and so then I stopped. And a lot of people think that's some kind of nutrient deficiency. I had a lot of hair loss at the beginning of the carnivore diet. I spent a year in a deep dive trying to figure out what to supplement with to stop it, and biotin, other things like that. I just think that's something you're going to go through. All of mine that left came back and is much thicker now. So I think there's various different diets that can do that to the body, and carnivore is probably one of them, especially if you go kind of cold turkey on it. And final thought is, vitamin D. I don't have much sun here, but I'm also not convinced I should be supplementing vitamin D. So I'm in a rabbit hole right now trying to figure that one out. There is a thought that when your melatonin goes up in the winter, when you've got shorter days, that it does some of the job of vitamin D, and you don't need to have as much vitamin D as you think you do. So even if your bloods look like they're low in vitamin D, may not be an issue. So you should go on symptoms. I'm just exploring that at the moment to see whether that's kind of backed fully by evidence. So that's why I am on those last three.
Excellent, thank you, Hugo. I know you're driving. You're on mute. Can you have any input or?
Yeah, I mean, about vitamin D, I wanted to say that it's a whole topic in of itself, but the timing when you take vitamin D, if you even take it, is extremely important. If you're taking a evening, it's gonna affect your circadian rhythm. So taking it in the morning for when you would actually get sun exposure is probably better.
And also take it if you're eating fat, it's better because it's fat soluble.
Because it is fat.
Exactly.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
And I think MCT oil, if you can get that, is probably the best form of it. Vitamin D is a whole nutshell in itself. And I haven't really taken it that much. Some few mega doses, like 15 to 20,000 I use. A few days, this winter, and that's it. I've not really taken it consistent like I have in the previous years, so like minimal. And I only took the high doses to see if it actually affects me, because if I have a deficiency, I'll notice in a few days of taking. Because in the past, it helped me a lot when I did take it. But that was first year of carnivore, and especially before carnivore. That's when it was even more helpful. So it's like N1 experimentation, right? So there's an easy way, at least for me, to know if I'm deficient or not. Just take a mega dose for 2-3 days, and that's it. If there's no change, then I won't bother taking it. And just watch your symptoms. If you don't have the symptoms, then probably don't have the issue.
Yeah, good point. And just to actually, we're going to wrap it up here, and we can definitely do a part 2, and we will do a part 2 because there's just so much more we can talk about. And again, we're not coming to you as health professionals or anything like that. It's just what we work for us and what we've read, what we've researched, and our own experience. So one thing I'm going to do is, this is something that we'll wrap it up with. Number 1 is, before adding a supplement, ask yourself, what function am I supporting? Don't just take it for the sake of taking it. I don't know how many conversations I've been in where somebody says, oh, I'm taking a nanoconase, or I'm taking this, or I'm taking that, and they're run home, and guess what? They're taking that supplement. There's no need for that. Ask yourself, what function am I supporting? Is this temporary or foundational? That's another really good question to ask. And the biggest one, am I fixing a behavior or avoiding one? These are really good questions to ask yourself. No, don't just take a supplement for the sake of taking a supplement. There's many reasons why you should and many reasons why you should not. Because like Hugo and a few have said is it can be very harmful as well. And now you have this bowl of all this stuff that's happening that you don't have a clue what's going on in your body, because you have all these supplements and you're wondering, well, which one's working, how do you know? How do you know which one's working? Develop a relationship with your body, get to know your body. And again, supplements don't create health. They reduce friction while health returns. That's basically what a supplement is. Use what helps and leave what doesn't. Never outsource your regulation. And I hope you enjoyed this episode. Any last thoughts before we close it out? Anyone, just go ahead. Nothing?
No.
Okay, we'll see you for episode 2, 3, 4, however many we can get in here. If you want to know more, just put it in the comments below. We read every comment, and we'll go from there. So with that, thank you, everyone. I know the timings aren't great, yet we're here because we're dedicated to our podcast. And have a great day, have a great sleep, and have a great rest of the afternoon and evening to Hugo and Olivia. Bye.
Everyone, bye.
Bye.